there, YouTube family. It is Joni from Smilin' Shrinkin', and I'm coming to you guys today. So excited to be doing an open collab, Thanksgiving collab with Missy over at The Welder's Wife, Stephanie at Home Sweet Stephanie, and Amanda over at Mom's Messy Kitchen. And they are so much fun to watch. I mean, they said they were going to be doing an open collab. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So I want to welcome you. If you guys came over there from the open collab, I'm sure glad that you stopped by. I hope that you'll subscribe and come back again. My little channel started out as a weight loss channel. It's transitioned over and has just included all of life. And so I have been having so much fun with the What's for Dinner videos that it was very exciting to want to take place in this Thanksgiving collaboration. So the dish that I'm making today is, we call them Turner green beans, and it's what I'm kind of famous for bringing on Thanksgiving. This recipe was taught to me by my great grandma. She was from Evening Shade, Alabama. No. My great grandma, she was from Evening Shade, Arkansas, and this is such a simple but delicious recipe. Let me show you how you get started. Okay, you guys, this is everything. Like I said, it's super simple. You're going to start out with cut green beans. If you're making a double batch, that's what I have to make. It makes this size, which is just a casserole. But for our family, we have about usually 15 to 20 people, depending on who comes. But it's always barely enough. No matter how many people you have, it's just barely enough because they are so yummy. So we start out with, when I make this, I make 2 pans full. Each pan has 4 cans of green beans and a half of a pound of bacon. And so what I've done is I started by dicing up the bacon. Half of it's over here, half of it's here. I would like to give you a little tip on cutting bacon because, you know, sometimes if your knife is not super sharp, it can be a real big pain. Well, if when you're getting all your stuff together, you toss your pound of bacon into the freezer, it'll make slicing it up after waiting about 10-15 minutes, it'll make it a piece of cake. So I slice it the long way into little bits, and then I slice it again this way, just so they're nice and little. So the first thing I'm going to do is just get my pan nice and warm. I'm going to turn it over here, probably medium high, not so high. I always start by throwing the bacon in first. So first thing I'm going to do is take this half pound and throw it in the pot. One hand. I'm going to go put this back on the tripod and try again. Okay, you guys. So the first thing you're going to do is take half of your pound of bacon, put it in the pan. I'm going to set this in the sink. Okay. So these are going to cook up a lot like greens, you know, where you cook them low and slow and let them just kind of simmer for hours. So my first thing I do is I start to render the bacon, let it get just a little bit warm. Then we're going to add the green beans. Okay, you guys, while that bacon is rendering, you're going to open up your cans of green beans. And the first thing you're going to do, that first one, you're going to dump it in, juice and all. So you're going to take that, pour it right in. Okay. Now, on the rest of these, you're not going to just pour out the green bean, I call it green bean juice. It's just the water that it's packed in. You're going to use that as your basting liquid so that as it's cooking, if it starts to get a little bit dry, you're just going to add a little bit more of the bacon juice in, or bacon juice. You're going to add a little bit of the green bean juice, which will just intensify the flavor. So this next 3 cans, as again, I'm doing 2 pots, but one you can't see, it's off. I was gonna just make a 4 beans and a half of a thing, but I told my girlfriend I was doing this video today. She said, oh, I'm coming over, I want some green bean. I said, okay. So I'll just go ahead and make the whole thing like I normally do. Okay, so 2 cans in, 2 to go. Again, just taking the thing, saving the juice. Sometimes you use all of the juice, sometimes only about half. It just depends on how hot your stove is. Ooh, I missed the green bean. Hold on. You know, you guys, I love Thanksgiving so much. I love getting to see my family. They're so wonderful. But you know, when I was a kid, even into my early adulthood, my mom and dad did all of Thanksgiving. We didn't have to do anything but show up. I mean, we had to clean the dishes afterwards, but we didn't have to do any of the cooking. My folks, they loved doing that. They'd get up bright and early. They would, I'd see them in the kitchen together playing a little bit of grab ass. So sweet. They would play with each other. You know, my dad would come up behind my mom and he'd just wrap his arms around her, kind of snuggle and kiss on her neck. I always thought that was so cute and thought, one day I get to do that. So you're just going to give this a good stir and then it's just going to start to cook. So right now I said I have it on medium high. Let me give my bacon over here a little zhuzh and I'll keep doing my other beans. And I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I forgot I'm doing 2 sides. I didn't have enough room in my cup. If I'd have grabbed my 4th cupper, I would have had enough. So the first can all the way in. Okay, so this one here is on medium high. And so when you're doing that, you're gonna give it a stir, and once it starts to really, you know, get simmery, and you might turn it down a little bit, but you're just gonna stir it, you know, about every. Honestly, I normally set the alarm. I say, Alexa, set a timer for 10 minutes, and that way I just stir it every 10 minutes or so. I do that so I don't want my bacon to burn at the bottom, but you're gonna let it just. Oh, she was really listening. Anyway, so you're just gonna check on it. You'll use your nose as well because of course already my house smells amazing. And anyways, so that's what you're gonna do while it's cooking. You're just gonna cook it low and slow. If it starts to get a little bit dry, you'll just pour a little bit of green bean juice in. And just let it simmer. It usually takes me about an hour and a half. Sometimes I'll do 2 hours if I'm feeling very patient, to let it just cook low and slow and let them get, they're not very attractive, I'll be honest. They kind of smush up and look kind of wrinkly, but oh, the flavor is amazing. And what happens with the bacon that's in there, as it cooks down and kind of cooks into it, it almost makes like a bacon gravy. How could a bacon gravy ever be bad? I don't know. So once it's up and going, we're gonna put a little just salt and pepper to taste. My family, we do heavy on the pepper because we all love pepper. Light on the salt because bacon is already a little bit salty, and you could always add more, but you can't take it away. So let me give this. These are so cute, but this is not realistic. Let me go like this. Costco. Anyways, let me do some real peppering. And actually, that's even too slow too. You just put a little palm in. It's about maybe half a tablespoon. Yeah, between the 2 pots. I'll do about a tablespoon between the 2. And I'm gonna wait to do salt for a little while till it cooks, okay? So anyways, what I was gonna tell you guys though is that I grew up with my folks always making the Thanksgiving dinner together, and the rest of the family just came. My grandma always made the pies, but when it came to all the hors d'oeuvres, the dinner, everything, that was my mom and dad. So my mom and dad's favorite Thanksgiving story, when they were brand new newlyweds, my mom had just turned 18, my dad had just turned 20, they were very young. They hosted the first Thanksgiving of their marriage in their little tiny apartment. And it was so cute because they were cooking it together. And of course, you know, being so young, all the moms and grandmas were like, "Are you sure you don't need help? That's a really big meal. Are you sure you don't need help?" They're like, "Oh, no, we've got this." And then after about an hour of everyone being there, my dad came out of the kitchen and he says, "Do turkeys shrink?" And they're like, yeah, it kind of shrinks. Oh, okay. About another hour goes by, and again, my mom and dad come out together from the kitchen, and they said, do turkeys shrink? And the parents were kind of looking at each other going, well, yeah, a little bit. And they're like, oh, okay. So when it's finally time for dinner, they have the place all beautifully set up. All of the fixings were all over the table. And my mom and dad walk out of the kitchen with this great big platter, all decorated so pretty, and a little Cornish game hen sitting right in the middle. And they went down, set it down for the table, and everybody was like, and they really had a turkey in the other room, but that was like their favorite. So cute. I wish they'd have had a camera. That'd have been funny. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and come back to you guys in just a few minutes, and I'll show you what you're looking for. Beans and the bacon, and they're cooking, and you'll see that how it's really got a nice boil on. In fact, if it starts to get a little too hot, I could turn it down to medium, but you want it to be simmering. You want it to be bubbling like this. And you see all that good green bean juice in there. Okay, once it starts getting cooked down, I will show you when it's time to add your next little bit of juice, okay? Alexa, turn off the alarm. Okay, you guys, do you see how there's just this little bit of liquid left, but there's areas that are dry? You don't want your beans to burn, so this is the time you want to add a little bit more green bean juice. So let me grab it. And you don't want it, and I know it's going to cool it down a little bit, but that's okay. It is. In fact, I'm going to add a little bit over here as well. Just a little bit, not so much. That one's not quite as dry. But I want you to see how you want to kind of keep that moist. That's a terrible word. Sorry about that. Anyway, but you can see how they're already starting to get a little bit wilty. Just a little bit. So that was after 10 minutes. In fact, I turned this one down just a skosh. It was, this burner is a little bit hotter. So anyways, these are going to continue to cook about every 10 minutes or so. I'm going to give them a stir, and I will check back with you guys. I have been watching these pots, and I turned the heat off. I've used up all of the green bean juice, having it just simmer down and simmer down. And they've been cooking for about an hour. And you could let them go a little bit longer if you want. See how they're starting to be kind of shrivelly? But they are looking good. Done. It's time to transfer the beans over into your casserole dish. I did take a little sample. I'm not gonna lie, it was delicious, but I did notice that it did need a little bit of salt. I told you that I didn't add any salt the first time because you don't want it to be too salty. This is the part that can be a little tricky. And I put both pans worth in this bottom pan. And now I'm gonna put them all in the one casserole dish. And the thing that's so nice, this little casserole dish, it's one of the stones, Pampered Chef stone ones, enamel covered, whatever. The thing that's so nice about this is that I usually make this dish the night before, right before I go to bed, because then I just toss it in the oven right before we leave, and then it gets nice and hot, and this keeps it warm the whole way. If we're having Thanksgiving at my brother's house, or if we're having it here, it's even better because it's ready to go, and then you can just set it aside and it's good to go. So even though I put 8 cans of beans and a whole pound of bacon, if you look in here, that's how many it makes. That's a double batch. You can see why I made a double batch. Mostly because I could probably eat a single batch almost all by myself. So the other thing that's so great about this recipe for Turner green beans is that if you have family members who are doing a low carb diet or a keto diet, this is exactly the ticket. So I just want to thank you all so much for coming over to my channel and watching. I just wanted to thank Missy and Stephanie and Amanda for hosting this open collab. I thank you all for coming over and watching my little channel, and I hope that you'll come back again soon. Thanks so much and have a happy Thanksgiving.